What's going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to be doing a case study on how you can buy a vehicle, or really anything for that matter, using creative financing. So I've been getting a lot of DMs lately on Instagram, people asking me that want to get started in a reselling business. I don't have a truck and I have bad credit. I don't want to go take out a loan to buy a truck. So I'm going to do a case study on how we ran into the same issue and how we bought a box truck using creative financing. So to jump into it, if you haven't already, if you're new here, I'm gonna do a little background story on like who I am. You might already, have heard the story before, but back in 2021, we basically lost everything. My wife and I had to start over from scratch. We moved to Phoenix, Arizona back in 2020 originally. We started and scaled up an Amazon business, selling used books on Amazon in bulk. We basically got a warehouse. We started buying inventory in bulk. We'd buy gaylords of books, basically a big giant box filled with 800 to 1,000 books each. And we'd buy anywhere from 20 to 30 at a time. And then it was during like COVID. And what ended up happening is Amazon warehouses were getting filled up. So they put what's called restock limits on our Amazon account. So that basically put a whole damper to our operation and basically went out of business overnight. So we ended up getting rid of everything. We had contracts with big suppliers that were selling us used books in bulk. We ended up having to cancel those. We moved back to our hometown in Bismarck, North Dakota for about 3 months. And we're just contemplating, I could have went back to the airlines, but I've just always been the type where like, I do not want to work a job. I like to do things on my own time, be in control of my time and my income. Same with my wife. So we just, we were thinking one day when we were back in North Dakota, like, what could we do if we went back to Phoenix? Because we really didn't want to stay in our hometown. So something that we were doing the first time we lived here, we would we would source good at Goodwills and stuff for like books when we first started before we scaled up. And something we would do while we were there is my wife loves to like clean up and fix furniture. So we were doing a little bit of that on the side. And then one night when we were there or at our apartment that we were living at, we were taking out the trash and somebody was actually, they were moving out and they put their couch by the garbage can and it looked like a brand new couch. And we just stopped and talked to them. Like, we were like, hey, what's up? Why are you throwing away your couch? And like, oh, nothing's wrong with it. We actually just bought it 3 months ago, but we're moving out. And they're like, if you want it, you can have it. And we were like, hell yeah. So we brought it up to our apartment. It was a little 2-bedroom apartment. We brought it into our living room. We vacuumed it, took pictures of it, and listed it. And then we had it sold the next day and made like $300. So we kind of just had an idea when we went back to North Dakota, like I said, to move back to Phoenix and go all in on flipping furniture. So that's what we did. We moved back down, as you can see on the right here. All we had was like a 2006 Dodge Caravan, all the seats folded down. So we drove 25 hours straight to Phoenix. We crashed on a friend's couch for like 3 nights and then instantly just started going to, thrift stores like Goodwill. You can even see the tag on this right here, picking up stuff that we could source for cheap. We got this little tiny storage unit on the left right here. It was actually free for the first month, so it bought us like 30 days to be able to have a place to go store our inventory. And then after that, I think it was like $70 a month. We filled that up right away, as you can see right in the middle here. Today's buy cost, it was 110, estimated profit 750. So like I said, we didn't have a lot of room just being able to use the minivan, but we got what we could, like nightstands, dressers, and tables. We just got creative and got after it, started flipping stuff, and then, But from there, we proved the concept. We operated out of that little tiny storage unit for only that 1 month, so we actually didn't even have to pay. But we ended up upgrading into a bigger one, like you can see on the right here. We got that, and we decided to go all in. We leveraged a credit card. We already had a balance on it that we used to get to Phoenix for gas and then just food and, a place to stay. We stayed at a few Airbnbs because we didn't want to be a mooch and stay at our friend's house or like on his couch for a long period of time. So we ended up staying at some Airbnbs, but we decided to put what balance that we had left on a credit card to start renting a Penske box truck so we could go all in. So we did that, and it was super expensive. It was like with they charge you for mileage. They charge you just like a weekly rate. And I think with gas and everything, we were paying about $1,500 a week to use this Penske truck. But by having it, we were making revenue around like 5 to 6 grand per week, just flipping used furniture. So we did that for a while, but like I said, it ended up getting really expensive, and it was just a grind because no matter what, if we stopped flipping couches or we wanted to take a break, that weekly they charged us weekly, and in order to get it, they had to pre-authorize our credit card for a week, and then like some other stuff. There's definitely other places, other options that you could rent something cheaper. It's just what worked for us in the beginning to get started. But yeah, it ended up racking up, and we didn't want to do that long term. So what we ended up doing is what most people, think that they have to do. We decided to go buy a new pickup truck. We bought this 2019 Chevy Silverado from a dealership here in Phoenix. Took out a loan like most people think that you have to do. And we bought that. And then the thing with that is, our monthly payment was a lot cheaper. And the only downside is we could only haul one couch at a time, as you can see, versus having the box truck. You could fit, 16-foot box truck. You could fit like 4 big sectionals in there at a time. So you could just do a lot more pickups and deliveries at once and just be more efficient. But, to save time, or not save time, but to save money, we ended up getting this thing. We used that for about a year, and we just picked up and delivered couches one at a time like this. We got creative. We could fit really big sectionals into the box by, putting it in there like this, strapping it down. So yeah, we did that for about a year until we learned creative financing. So what is creative financing? So creative financing, you can really use it to buy anything. We learned this by investing. We've invested into ourselves over $50,000 over the course of the last few years in mentorships. But one of the best ones is Pace Morby's Sub 2. Mainly teaches creative financing on how to buy real estate, but you can really use creative financing to buy anything without having to use any of your own credit, any of your credentials. Don't need to get a bank loan. You can basically, like I said, buy anything like this. So what we did after using our pickup truck for about a year, like I said, we were limited to only picking up and delivering one couch at a time. We wanted to scale up our operation. So you can see on the left here, we ended up getting rid of the storage units and operating out of that. We got into a warehouse, and so we were obviously doing a lot more inventory, and we're moving a lot more inventory. So using just a pickup truck, we used it in the beginning for a little bit, but just having that, you're obviously limited, like I said, to only picking up and delivering one couch or one piece of furniture at a time. So that just wasn't feasible. But I didn't want to go take out another loan to buy a box truck. So I took what I learned from Pace Morby and bought a truck using creative financing. So specifically in this situation, I did what's called seller financing. So I basically went on Facebook Marketplace. I found somebody who was selling a box truck, and I messaged them and got them to sell it to me using seller financing. So basically, I told them, went and looked at it. I'm like, hey, I'll give you your price. And what I actually ended up doing to incentivize them, I actually gave them more than what they were asking, because I knew by having something like this, what can it do for me? Obviously, I'm going to be able to make a lot more. I'm going to be a lot more efficient with my time. I can haul a lot more inventory. So paying a little bit more was not an issue for me. So they were asking $5,500, as you can see. I went and looked at it, drove it around. I knew it was going to need some repairs. Common issue in bigger cities, people steal the catalytic converters off of stuff and sell them because they have like diamonds inside of them. So the catalytic converters were missing. I think the rear tires as well needed to be replaced. And then also after buying it, the water pump went out, so I had to replace that. So some minor issues. I ended up fixing all of that. But what I did, I ended up structuring a deal with them. So I told them, drove it around. I'm like, hey, there's all these little issues. I'm not too worried about that. I said, would you be open to basically, I'll give you your price. And I said, I'll actually even give you more if you'll sell it to me on terms. What terms basically means is just structuring an agreement like, hey, I'll give you your asking price if you'll finance me I'll give you a down payment if you'll finance me the rest. So I actually ended up paying more than what he was asking. I gave him $6,000 total, but how we structured it, I gave him $1,000 down and then structured an agreement to pay him the rest over the course of a year. So my monthly payments to him were like $415 a month. But we got the box truck, and then within like 3 or 4 months, from being able to just haul a lot more inventory, we were able to do bigger numbers, and I ended up just paying him off after like 3 or 4 months. But that's how I ended up buying our box truck that we have using seller financing. Another thing that you can do to purchase vehicles, so going back to this one, seller financing, he owned this free and clear. He didn't have a loan on it or anything, so that's why we were able to structure an agreement just between me and him. But another thing that you can do is what's called sub 2. So what sub 2 is, what I ended up doing here, what you see in this picture. So like I said in the beginning of this video, I bought this truck at the dealership. I ended up taking a loan out on it, but it was just sitting. I wasn't really using it anymore after getting the box truck. I think it literally sat at our warehouse for like 3 or 4 months. And I was just like, hey, like it just doesn't make sense to pay the monthly payment on this, the insurance, all of that. And as vehicles, as you know, vehicles, as soon as you drive it off the lot, they depreciate. And just as mileage goes up and time goes on, vehicles are not an asset. They are a depreciating product, whatever you want. It's not an asset, but sitting there depreciating. So what it booked for, and what I could currently sell for, I actually owed more than what it booked for. So what a lot of people do in these situations, if we reach out to somebody and they have a current loan on it, you can do what's called subject, or buy the vehicle subject to. So what I ended up doing here, I ended up selling my vehicle to somebody in Phoenix. This is Manuel right here, who has a flooring company. I ended up selling him my truck subject to. So he didn't need to qualify. He didn't need to use his credit. Still, did income verification and all of that. But I basically, what subject to means is I allowed him to take over my payments on my truck. So what is the difference between sub 2 and seller financing? So basically, in a nutshell, like I said, buying my box truck, the guy owned it free and clear. So he was just basically becoming the bank. Me and him structured an agreement, like I said. He was asking $5,500. I offered, went and looked at it, and I offered to give him more than what he was even asking. I offered to give him $6,000, gave him $1,000 down. We structured an agreement, had it notarized and everything. $6,000 total. Structured it over a 12-month period. Like I said, my payments to him were $415 per month. After 3 or 4 months of, like I said, just being able to move more inventory a lot quicker and not having a $1,500 a week payment like I had when I was renting the Penske truck, I was able to obviously make and keep a lot more. So after 3 or 4 months, I ended up just basically ballooning him out, paid him off the rest, and then the truck was mine. The only difference between seller financing and sub 2 is when, for example, like I had my pickup truck that still had a bank loan on it. That has an underlying debt on it, and basically all it is I allowed somebody else, kept the debt in my name and allowed him to take over my payments, and that's just called sub 2. So you can really do this with anything. I learned it from Pace Morby. He mainly teaches how to buy houses like this. We bought houses this way, vehicles, and something that I'm also in the process of doing now is buying an airplane on creative financing. This particular situation. This is a guy that I've known for a while in Montana. He's had this plane for quite a while. He knows that I've been looking for something, and he's willing to sell it to me using seller financing. So in a nutshell, I just want to make this video. Like I said, I've had a lot of people been reaching out to me that want to get into reselling, but the biggest hurdle is they don't have a truck. They don't want to go to the bank and get a truck. So creative financing in a nutshell, you can really buy anything this way. It's not limited to just one thing. It's more of a way of thinking and just getting creative on, without, like I said, without having to use your own credit, your credentials, going to get a loan and all of that. So the reason I made this video, like I said, I've been having a lot of people reach out to me on my Instagram, asking like, I want to get started in reselling and doing what you do, but I don't have a pickup and I don't want to go get a loan. I have bad credit, whatever. Like I said, you don't need to use your credit to do creative financing. If you are somebody who's interested in learning more about how to get started reselling or how to buy a box truck or just anything creatively, we just launched a high-level mastermind style program called Reselling Academy. If you want more information on that, there'll be a link below to book a call. We'll go over, see where you're currently at, what your goals are, where you want to get to, and see if we can come up with a game plan. And if you're a good fit, we'll go from there. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it helps you, gives you some value. We'll see you in the next one.